Hey guys, we're back with part 2. If you recall from the first video, we left off where John McClane and Kyle Reese just escaped after being attacked and Yuri was kidnapped. Let's get into this. What happens after that is what I'll call next level cringe. John McClane basically calls his son Kyle Reese a fat because he was injured in the escape. It's the kind of interaction that you don't want to have with your dad, ever. Son, I don't like that we aren't close anymore. Dad, I've missed you all these years. I really could use your help. I got stabbed with a piece of rebar and it hurts. What are you, a pussy? Why don't you go suck some on your way to the hospital, you sad sack of dog shit. Go f yourself to death. I told your mother she should have had an abortion. Yep, that's what this scene felt like. I love you, Dad. So John McClane and Discount Jason Bourne decide that they are going to stop Victor and his goons and save Yuri, but they need guns and a car. And wouldn't you know it, apparently you just need to pick a random car at a Chechen nightclub and you're guaranteed to find a arsenal of weapons.
Well, that was easy.
Christ, I couldn't write this script any worse if I tried. Well, in order to stop Victor, John McClane and Kyle Reese need to go to Chernobyl. Yes, the site of the nuclear meltdown 40 years ago. How are they going to get there? Well, they're going to drive in their new stolen Maybach loaded with illegal weapons. To Chernobyl. Oh, by the way, the car they were breaking into at the club was a Maserati. Now they're driving a Maybach. Just in case you didn't notice, but I did. Anyways, I do want to understand one thing, though. They are currently in Moscow, right? And then they're going to drive to Chernobyl in a stolen Maybach with illegal weapons. Let me just Google Chernobyl. I'm just going to say this for the cheap seats. Chernobyl is not located in Russia!
No.
This cute little power plant is located in a neighboring country known as Ukraine. And you may have noticed that these countries aren't big fans of each other. And their respective border agents might have some words for two dudes beat the driving a Maybach across the Russian-Ukrainian border. Not to mention the multiple checkpoints just to get to Chernobyl. But no, absolutely nothing. On top of that, the Albanian terrorist pimp and piece of ass managed to fly an Mi-26 across the border. I guess the bad guy stopped at the helicopter dealer on the way out of Russia and upgraded from the Mi-24 to an Mi-26. Yeah, I noticed. Look, I could get over the idea of two idiots sneaking a car across the border, but a Russian Mi-26 gunship crossing the border, landing at Chernobyl, will attract some attention. I promise you. Also, most people don't know this, but there are still folks that work at the old power plant as it's still going through the decommissioning process. But who gives a right? Might as well have the next Die Hard movie take place on Mars without spacesuits. Bunch of green aliens show up with probes up their asses, and John McClane's got to get the lube. Just ask P. Diddy. He seems to have a big supply. All right. We have to keep going. Oh yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. This way I can continue to bring more of this horrible content.
I sure as hell will.
Piece of an Albanian terrorist pimp dragged Yuri into opening up some sort of vault. Everyone is wearing radiation suits because Chernobyl. But what the hell are they doing in this scene? It's like, oh, there's radiation in here. Not today, Satan. We will just spray the room with the anti-radiation gun. And boom, we have officially canceled radiation. No words, guys. No words. Well, as it turns out, Yuri actually has a dark secret, and just like that, no more Albanian terrorist pip. All Russians are evil in this movie, apparently. So Yuri looks to have won the day. He's got his hand on the enriched uranium that somehow he stored in Chernobyl for 40 years, and no one noticed. Then he makes one phone call, and it's lights out for Victor. I'd say it's a pretty good win, if you ask me. Oh, did we forget about John McClane and Kyle Reese? Somehow, they managed to sneak around, I don't know, a dozen or so henchmen, and just appear in the uranium vault with Yuri, completely unnoticed. God, this movie's killing me. Yuri tries to pretend he's still the bumbling political prisoner, but John and Discount Jason Bourne are wising up to his ruse. Yuri even tries to tell Kyle Reese, "You know me," to which I'm a little confused. Kyle just kind of showed up at the beginning of the movie and practically kidnapped Yuri after the explosion at the courthouse. Quite frankly, I think Yuri's plan would have gone off better had Kyle not been involved whatsoever. Yuri then starts monologuing like a proper villain on how he used everybody, but did he? I guess John and Kyle gave Yuri a ride to the hotel to meet his daughter, but I think the Albanian terrorist pimp would have done the same. So John McClane and Kyle Reese have been pretty useless in this whole movie. Well, piece of overhears the conversation and goes to help Daddy, and the gunfight begins. Everything quickly devolves into a standstill. Yuri and piece of manage to escape, leaving the Mega Russian to cover them. Gotta love this dude. No shirt and CCCP tattooed on his back. That's a true believer. Well, during this gunfight, someone hits a hose on the floor a few times and it starts to leak. A gas of sorts. You know what I find funny? Is that there are all these vertical blue lights everywhere. And some sort of random hose on the floor manages to get hit multiple times and start leaking. Well, them blue lights must be bulletproof. But can someone explain to me what the is this gas and where is it coming from? If it was that radiation canceling gas, then the room would already be full of it and it would have ignited based on the gunfire when Yuri shot Albanian terrorist pimp. So is this like a natural gas line? Based on the fireball you see here, I would say it's meant to represent, but then I have a question. Why does a nuclear power plant need a natural gas line? Okay, well, the fire only manages to kill Mega Russian and John and Kyle are unscathed. Let's wrap this up. Discount Jason Bourne chases Yuri to the roof of the building, and John McClane manages to sneak on the chopper loaded with all the enriched uranium. Kyle chucks Yuri off the roof while McClane sabotages the helicopter, then manages to get flung back into the building from said helicopter, only to have have a melty seeing Yuri die, so she pushes the helicopter throttles ahead and to, I guess, suicide herself and take the McClanes with her. However, John and Kyle are quick to respond to her plans and jump off the building, only to land in a pool beneath that's full of contaminated nuclear wastewater. That's all I need to say is Look, I know very little about nuclear physics, but taking basically a ton of enriched uranium and exploding it from a crash may not cause it to go critical, although it might. It would at the very least cause a major contamination in the surrounding area. I'm sorry, but Kyle and John would have had enough radiation exposure to turn their insides into red paste. So I guess everyone dies. Nope, McClane and Reese are fine and arrive home sometime shortly thereafter on a Hawker 400 XP, which doesn't have sufficient range for a transatlantic flight, but who gives a This movie sure as hell doesn't, and that's it. My God, this movie is such hot garbage on so many levels. But I think even despite the mental autistic scenes and the writers somehow thought were really good, isn't the only thing that killed this franchise. Yeah, the lack of any real continuity and close to zero character development didn't help, but we've seen James Bond movies with ridiculous scenes, and yet Bond continues to return. Why is that? A Good Day to Die Hard broke what I'm calling the 4 rules to kill a franchise. Let me explain. Let's take a look at the additional and critical mistakes this movie blundered. Rule number 1, you have to stick with the format. John McClane is a blue-collar cop that, while unremarkable as a person, he finds himself doing remarkable things in situations that don't give him much of a choice. Die Hard. In Die Hard 2, John McClane was trapped and had to save his wife. Die Hard with a Vengeance was a little different, but if John didn't play Simon's game, school children were going to die. With Live Free or Die Hard, hell, John was trying to dump Matt off at the feds, but had no choice once they kidnapped his daughter. But with A Good Day to Die Hard, John chose to insert himself in the action, and multiple times he and Discount Jason Bourne had opportunities to walk away and they never took it. You felt like John and Kyle were always playing catch-up and trying to get back in the game versus the game trying to catch up to them. Rule number 2, respect the lore. Hi, Disney. John McClane is not James Bond, nor is he Jason Bourne. Then why the you put him in a goddamn Bourne movie? McClane's a cop from Jersey. He'll battle it out rough and tough. Don't expect him to solve international problems in a foreign country. He's not a spy, nor has he ever been trained to be one. McClane is the reluctant hero that only when there's no one else is he the guy to step up and do what needs to be done. It's why you love and hate the guy. But he's no superhero, so save that for Marvel. Rule number 3, if you're going to have a successor, make him likable. Bruce Willis was approaching 60 years old when he did A Good Day to Die Hard, and it felt like the movie was trying real hard to hand the proverbial baton to the next generation with Discount Jason Bourne. The problem is that Kyle Reese came across like an overly emotional, bitter kid with daddy issues. Reese was the international spy, and his dad, who probably had never been out of the country, was the cool and collected one, and that doesn't inspire much confidence for a potential successor. Also, Jay Courtney was in his late 20s when he did this movie, and Bruce Willis was in his early 30s when he did the first Die Hard. All I could say is, who was the bigger whiner between the two? And finally, rule number 4, never go full Yeah, I have to bring it up. A Good Day to Die Hard starts in Moscow with U.S. drones flying overhead and an Mi-24 gunship lighting up a building in the middle of Moscow and no response from the local authorities or the Russian military.
Wherefore return.
The movie then continued to have the bad guys leave Russian airspace and enter Ukrainian airspace and land a chopper at Chernobyl.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
Which, by the way, does have military checkpoints.
Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, I'm just trying.
John McClane and Kyle Reese steal a Maybach that just happened to have all the guns and grenades needed to disrupt the bad guys from stealing the enriched uranium, which they then in turn blew up in a massive fireball and walked away.
You went full retard, man.
It's like I know people blame The Last Jedi for ruining Star Wars, but I gotta admit, in my opinion, I felt it was more The Rise of Skywalker. At At the beginning of that movie, Palpatine just miraculously comes back from the dead, and he brings with him 1,000 fully crewed Star Destroyers.
Yeah, go f yourself, retard.
Aside from being stupid to the point of understanding why people jerk off in public,
You got wood.
you just undermined every movie since The Return of the Jedi. Come the on with that. So yes, just like Star Wars, Die Hard went full It pains me to watch this franchise die. What made Die Hard great in the first 4 movies was that John McClane was a down-on-your-luck cop that gets caught up in events that are initially out of his control. However, it's with John's street smarts and no given approach, he is slowly able to outmaneuver the bad guys and turn the tables on them. What makes John so endearing is his quick wit and comebacks that, coupled with his street skills, results in John irritating the out of the main villain. He's so good at it that inevitably the bad guy ends up making a mistake, which leads to their undoing. John McClane wins the day every time, but he is still an asshole.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Hey, thank you for watching. We hope you understand this is just satire, and we have a good time doing it. If what you saw here made you happy, please hit the like and subscribe button. And if you didn't like what you saw here, please hit the like and subscribe button, because it'd make me happy. Thanks for watching. Now please, just leave me alone.